All right, what's up YouTube land? So today I'm going to show you guys how I made this giant character cutout. All right, so here's my image of Snorlax. So what I'm going to do is on my canvas, I'm going to go to canvas size, and I have 24-inch width. I'm just going to leave the height at 90 for right now. But the height really doesn't matter too much. It's mainly just the width. My printer prints at 24 inches wide. So I have a 24-inch by 90-inch canvas here. I'm going to go ahead real quick and delete the background. So I'm going to select that, delete, and then that bottom part, delete, and we should be good there. Okay, so now for this image, I'm going to transform this. And right up here towards the top left, I already have it set to inches. Free transform. I'm gonna go up here to width and height. Now the width and height are both locked, so they stay proportional to each other. So for the width, I'm gonna change that to 54 inches. Then the height automatically adjusts. Go ahead and check that. All right, so there's our new size here. All right, so what I'm gonna do first is I'm going to, let's see, I'm gonna go ahead and move this part down here. Get it close to the bottom there. So what I'm gonna do right now is I have these other layers. This is when I originally did it, but I'm doing this, I'm redoing it for demonstration purposes. So here I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna label this original. Okay. All right, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to select the part that is visible here. I'm gonna copy it and make a second layer of just this visible part, okay? So I'm gonna call that copy 1. And then I'm gonna turn that layer off. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back to my original layer. I'm gonna reselect that part that I had, and I'm gonna delete it because I don't need that part anymore. I have a copy of it. Okay, so I go deselect. Now, even though there's nothing there, the rest of the image is just off canvas, so I need to move that over. You see how this turns back on when I select it? But it doesn't let me move it over for some reason. So what I'm gonna do is, I don't know if this is just a glitch, but if I enlarge it, I can bring it back. And then I just go back. I just do backward steps and then it lets me move it over. I don't know why. That's just a Photoshop thing, I guess. Okay, so this is the next part of my image that I have here. You can see a little bit of the hand and foot is cut off. This is the most that I can fit on for the rest of the body. So I'm just gonna repeat the process here. Okay, so I'm gonna take a copy of this part now. So edit, copy, edit, paste. So that creates a second layer of it. I'm gonna call that copy 2. I'm gonna turn it off. Okay, so I'm back to the original layer and I'm gonna go ahead and delete this part. Select the layer and then delete. Okay, there you are. All right, so now we just have this little part that's left over. I'm gonna stretch that out, take it back to its original size, and now I can move it over. Okay, and I'll throw this up here in the top right corner. And this one I don't need to make a copy of it because it's the last part. All right, so now I just need to make sure that everything fits. So I'm gonna turn all my layers back on. And for this part, let's see here, how can I make it fit best? Let's see, so I'm going to take the arm, I'm gonna turn that off. Move this up to the top. Move this down to the bottom here. And then the arm here, let's see, free transform. And then if I just turn it, probably fit it into this little gap here. And there we go. I got it to fit, okay? So this will all cut out into one strip. Now, if need be, I could always just, now this will probably save me the most amount of paper, but if need be, I could always change the canvas size and resize it. Let's, I'll just add 2 more inches on here. So I'll go to 92 on the height. And then I could bump this guy up a little bit. And this will give me a little bit more space to work with. But there you go. There's a basic idea on how to break this image apart using Photoshop. If you're using a regular printer where you can only print 8.5 by 11, it's the same idea. It's just that for your canvas size, you're just gonna have to break it up into more sections. So your width would be 8.5 and your height would be 11. If you are using a regular printer though, just be in mind that regular home printers do not print borderless. So you'll have an edge to take into consideration. Since I have a large format printer, I can actually print borderless and I can print from edge to edge without a white band around. But having a white band around actually is kind of a good thing, because when you glue this down, you can actually overlap your layers a little bit and it just makes it a little bit more secure.
All right, so I have my character cutout set up so everything's gonna fit. Now I just need to glue everything together. Now, because I have a large format printer, I can print up to 24 inches wide. So because of that, I was able to break it up into 3 sections. So here, this is 24 inches wide. So this is the main part. And then I was able to fit in the 2 other pieces here and here on the left side. But because of the size of this thing, I need to use 4 pieces of foam board. So some alternatives that you have are that if you have just a regular size printer that prints 8.5 by 11, you can totally do this. It's just that you're gonna have a lot more smaller pieces that you have to assemble, but the premise is still the same thing. Now, if you wanna save yourself a little bit of work, you can print this out at poster size, but if you don't have a printer, you can order them through Vistaprint or Staples, some kind of printing service like that. The only thing is that it is a little bit pricey, and there is the wait time until you actually do receive the poster. So you do have to do quite a bit of planning ahead of time. So in my case, I was just able to print poster size here at home. So it saves me time and it saves me a couple of steps. This part you can totally do on cardboard if that's what you have. I like to use foam board. I think it just looks cleaner. So look at the arrangement that I set it up in. I set this up like tile or like bricks. And here's the reason. It's because if you line up your pieces all on a one seam like this actually ends up being a weak point. So to give it a little bit more strength, what you should do is you should stagger your seams, because what could potentially happen is that this can end up folding all the way down this seam. Whereas if you stagger the seams, there's a lot less chance that it'll fold or crease right down the middle, because you've essentially broken up the joints. So that's why I'm assembling it this way. Now from here, you have a couple of options. If you're looking for strength, you can use silicone to glue these together. The only thing about that is that silicone takes about 24 hours to dry, so you have to leave this alone for that amount of time and be sure that the joints are nice and tight together the entire time. But one of the pros about silicone is that it won't melt on you or come undone in the heat. So option 2 is you can use a glue gun. Glue gun will be pretty quick. It'll be a pretty strong bond. The con is that if this is going to be out in the heat, you do run the risk of the glue melting. Now the third method is using some kind of tape. As you can see, I have this clear roll tape here, but I don't have enough of it. And I don't feel like going all the way to storage just to grab a new roll. So here's what I'm going to do instead. So I cut out a bunch of 2-inch strips and then I folded them in half. And I'm going to glue them together with this Gorilla Glue adhesive spray. So I put a coat of the adhesive on here. I have my 2 pieces put together as tightly as possible. I'm going to follow the fold here all the way down. Keep it nice and tight. Press that on. Now I have a roller here, so this just kind of helps a little bit, but not necessary. All right, and then we're good there. Now I'm just going to repeat the process over and over. And that's pretty strong right there. And that's just one side. All right, so I put all the strips here. You can see how well that holds. Only thing is that now you have to do it on the other side because it still folds on the other side. But you can see the amount of strength that it has just from this one side. All right, so you can see how well it holds up. So pretty good. This will definitely last the party at least. And then when you glue on the character, it's just going to make it even more stronger.
Now ideally, you do want to have a little bit of overlap. So for example, as you can see here on this strip here, I left a little bit of white, so that way when you glue it down,
you can overlap your seams a little bit. And again, that will just create for a stronger bond. So right now that I have it laid out, I'm gonna actually go ahead and trace it out just so I know where everything's supposed to lay out. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and spray the back. Okay, I'm gonna lay it down. I'm gonna follow my outline here. Okay, so good right there. Roll that on. See that? And the edges do not lift up. So now I'm just going to repeat the process for the next two. Alright, so last step now is just to cut it out. Alright, so I'm going to put down this scrap piece of cardboard that I have here because if I can't cut this on my table because it's too large. So if my blade comes in contact with this mat, it's going to dull my blade out really fast. So that's why I'm going to use this scrap piece of cardboard. This is a brand new blade also, by the way, so it's going to cut through this easier than butter. All right, there we are. There's our cutout. Now, is it perfect? No, it's not professional, but it's definitely good enough. So to measure this guy out, see, we are approximately 54 inches wide, and it's a 46-inch height. Okay, so 56 by 46 is what we're looking at. And here's the importance of using a sharp blade, because look how smooth this cut comes out. If you use a dull blade, it'll look kind of choppy, and you'll see some tearing because a duller blade will kind of tug and snag away at this paper, which will create a jagged edge. You see, this was cut with a dull blade, so you can see all these like clumps. They got pulled, they got tugged on, so that creates a lot of tearing. Whereas if you use a clean blade, it just slices. So the difference between a dull blade and a sharp blade. And that's how to make a large character cutout. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. This is Household Journeys. Take care, people.